Hi, I'm Laura D Pusey, founder of Dippism, Death in Practice. And on this channel, we're delving deeper into death, grief, and life. Now, you'll see that the comments are turned off, and this is for two main reasons. It is vital that I and my viewers are protected from any negative or low vibes as much as possible. And as an empath, I experience chronic fatigue, and this means that I have limited capacity. I have to be selective about the people I work and share my energy with. However, I do welcome group and personal one-to-one conversations that delve deeper into the meaning of death and the purpose of grief. During such sessions, I provide spiritual and mindful insights, new perspectives, hypnotic and common sense guidance for those who seek to gain an inner standing of death and grief based on their own personal truths. For more information, watch to the end, and if you like what you hear, please share this video, like it so I know that you're there, and subscribe. Now, let's open the veil of luminescence. With the intention of infinite truths, by the pulse of sacred light, I call forth the veil of luminescence. I anchor this veil in sovereign light to transmute and contain all energetic imprints, attachments, and residues across all realms. The material plane, where grief etches into the body. The emotional plane, where sorrow swells and purges. The mental plane, where stories of loss seek resolution. The astral plane, where echoes of the departed linger. The interdimensional corridors, where ancestral and cosmic threads intertwine. The parallel universes, where grief and grace mirror each other. This veil, woven of remembrance and radiance, is encoded with clarity to discern what is yours and what is not. Containment to protect your field, compassion to honor the sacred work of grief, transmutation to alchemize pain into wisdom. Let this veil shimmer between worlds, holding space for the divinity of each soul, the teachings where presence dissolves suffering, the soul's awakening where death births depth, the healing where grief becomes grace. This veil is not a wall but a sacred membrane, allowing only what aligns with truth, love, and remembrance to pass through. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I seal this veil with sovereignty and light. Greetings, and thank you for joining me. In this session, we are answering the questions, what is death and why do we die? Death is the transition through which we leave this earth and enter a new form of existence. Even if you don't believe that we go anywhere or do anything once we lay our bodies aside, being dead is simply another form of existence, even if it's only held by those who knew and loved you. However, for those of you who do believe that there is something more to the phenomena that we refer to as death, consider, if you will, that we die. so that we might live. Now, if this is the case, then death is the exit point. And the sickness or the situation that occurs immediately before death is a portal or a door that opens, allowing the body to die. Let's just consider that for a little while. The sickness or the event is the point that taps on that door. I guess we would call that dying. And when that door is ready to open, that is death. Now, we don't often acknowledge death as an opportunity, a gift, or a form of elevation. But as the prophet Cutty Ranks once said, there are 6 million ways to die. All we have to do is choose one, which means that there will be a day that door will open, and we will then know what is on the other side of life. The opportunity we have now is to decide what we want to expect, rather than fear what might await us based on our previous deeds. We carry many fears in our minds, and at times these fears can create the very illness that taps on the door of death. Think about it. It is possible that we can worry ourselves to the door of death, and it happens in very subtle ways. So what are your thoughts of death? Does it scare you? Isn't it better to address death and decide in advance what it is that we want to expect, and then live our lives in harmony with that desired end? Under what circumstances would you rather lay your body aside? And what changes might you have to make within your life to ensure that you get the experience that you desire? You may need to retire early. You may need to tell people what you really think of them, make new friends, sever old ties. As long as you are consciously aware and mindfully working towards your most desired experience, I'm assured that you will have the transition that you expect. Unfortunately, we are plagued with many fearful programs that prevent us from moving forward in meaningful ways. None of this is an overnight process, but it doesn't have to be a long process. Death is all around us all the time, and the change of seasons shows the dance of life and death in ways that we often take for granted. But as the sun dies and winter emerges, gone are the colours, vibrancy, and energies that tend to illuminate the springtime, the summertime, and even the fall time. Do you notice the seasons, the rotation of the sun and the rise of and fall of our years? Can we really equate the seasons to our own lives? Just as fresh food perishes, so too do our bodies. Our cells die and are often replenished, so we don't really notice when our bodies are aging. And when we die, regardless of how that happens, the reason why we do so is because our bodies have become compromised to the extent that they can no longer facilitate the energy, that spark, your spirit, the essence, your vibrancy, our life force within. The spirit within the body animates the body. We walk, talk, smell, breathe, smile, and live as the spirit within experiences life. We are not the body, and we are not in these bodies for long, some more than others. That is life. The act of surrendering the life force within is death. As life and the body sever ties The body dies, and dying instantly starts the decomposition process. This is the final phase for the body as we know it, and it doesn't need to be told what to do. The process is natural, normal, and necessary. The thing is, we have been taught to fear death, to fight it and avoid it at all costs, literally, like our lives depend on it. This reminds me of a session I once held in my home. Caroline looked towards Hazel and myself and asked, "What if death is just another vagina?" That question always stuck with me. As with the announcement of a newborn baby, I would argue that there was a time when death was celebrated. It was anticipated, planned and prepared for. I suspect that there was more information about what happened after the death process had taken place, and such knowledge perhaps removed the sting of loss that is ever present today. That information isn't necessarily lost, may be more forgotten with time, obscured by beliefs that have been overshadowed by our truths and left us with a perpetual but perhaps unnecessary fear of death. I say unnecessary because we've been taught to believe that death is a negative. But what if death was completely misunderstood and served as a purpose far greater than we can presently understand? What if death has been intentionally demonized, made easier by the fact that our decline appears ugly, painful, and scary? It is possible that under the right circumstances, we died to evolve. And if we never died, we would experience everything that there was to witness on earth, and there would be nothing left for us to accomplish. So perhaps we achieve more by living and dying within a life and death cycle that keeps us having experiences only to forget them on re-entry. Perhaps, as many believe, we belong to a soul that is having a human experience, and death provides an opportunity to reflect on that which has been learned throughout each lifetime, within that which has been missed, or that which might need to be re-experienced from another perspective. Life again. I believe it is possible to choose your death. When you are conscious of the meaning of both life and death, an awareness of the two can provide an escape from the seemingly endless life and death cycle. Perhaps that is the purpose of returning to Earth time and time again, in order to elevate into the next set of stories and experiences that inform an ongoing spiral. Without the day, there is no night. Without the darkness, there is no light. Without death, there is no life. And likewise, we cannot experience life to the fullest without death. Death provides completion and the end of the stories that inform our experiences, decisions, beliefs, and behaviours. Our death allows others to experience our lives and decide how they want to live theirs. By sharing our lives with those closest to us, we learn more about who we are, how we like to be treated, and how we want to live. When we understand the nature of life, understand the meaning of our being on earth, and identify our personal truth and fulfill our purpose, our death is not to be feared, but recognized as a glorious transition that brings us closer to our original state. Now, as I said before, I've turned the comments off this video because these thoughts are my own. And I want to protect myself and my viewers from any negativity or low vibes as much as I possibly can. My purpose is to provide new perspectives of life and death and grief and put them out into the atmosphere so that people can come to their own conclusions. I'm not necessarily right nor wrong. Perhaps we won't know for sure until we lay our own bodies aside. But if we can approach our death transitions with an awareness of life and a respectful awareness for the necessity of ongoing transitions, then there will be no fear of death. We would prepare ourselves and those we love for its timely arrival and acknowledge the fact that the transition is experienced by all who have known us and many who don't. We would be able to speak freely of it without tears of sorrow and feelings of loss, realizing that those who have died still live within our hearts, minds, and memories, and perhaps in the form of life force, spark, and another human making an entry somewhere in the world with the intention of touching our lives again in ways we can never fully fathom. Okay, so you may be thinking, what does she know? Well, I'm an end-of-life guide. I'm a funeral arranger, director, and celebrant. I am a clinical hypnotherapist specializing in generational and present-day grief and trauma. I've created 2 books that are related to death. My Life's Tapestry and Tapestries of Grief. Both are available on Amazon. I am a grief consultant and have worked with families who have experienced grief through suicide. I also have 3 death-related grief organisations, hence the burnout. Death and grief are part of my calling, so if you're interested in talking about death or your grief from a new perspective, one of evolution, empowerment and elevation in ways that turn traumas and sorrows into life lessons for those who truly live, please send me an email at deathinpractice@gmail.com. Let me know why the matter of death is so important to you. As I've stated before, I am limited due to chronic fatigue, but I do have some fortnightly one-to-one sessions available. Likewise, you are welcome to join me on a monthly Zoom meeting at 7 p.m. GMT on Friday evenings. Once again, if you like what you have heard, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on that notification bell so that you know when I upload the next video. Let's put away the tears and identify the gifts so that in time we might ourselves die with strength, wisdom and inner standing of who we are and where we are going. Let us now close the veil of luminescence. One love. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I honour the veil of luminescence now fulfilled. This veil, once summoned to transmute and contain, has held the field with clarity, compassion, and sovereign light. As the teachings settle and the soul integrates, I call forth the sacred closure of this veil across all realms. On the mental plane, let the body rest in renewal. On the emotional plane, let sorrow soften into spaciousness. On the mental plane, let stories find stillness. On the astral plane, let echoes return to source. Through interdimensional corridors, let threads untangle. Across spheres and planetary systems, allow contracts to be honoured and released. Let all residues now return to their rightful place, dissolved, dispersed, or transmuted by sovereign light. Let the veil fold inward, encoded with discernment to preserve what is true, containment to seal what is sacred, compassion to cradle what remains tender, and wisdom to carry forth what has been alchemized. This veil is reabsorbed into the soul's archive, a luminous record of presence, grief, and transformation. By the breath of the infinite, by the pulse of the sacred, I seal this veil with sovereignty and light.